I am a candidate for the presidential election. Éric Zemmour. November 30, 2021. My fellow compatriots. For years, you have been gripped, oppressed, haunted by the same feeling. A strange, pervasive feeling of dispossession. When you're walking in the street, you don't recognize your city. When you're watching television, you hear a strange, unknown language. When you're looking at advertisements, when you're watching series, soccer games, movies, shows, when you're listening to music, when you're reading your children's school books, when you're using public transit, when you're at the station or at the airport, when you're waiting for your child to finish class, when you're taking your mother to the hospital, when you're queuing to send a letter or to find a job, when you're waiting at the police station or at the courthouse, you feel like you no longer live in the same country. You remember the country you once knew, the country your parents told you about, the country you can find in movies and books, the country of Joan of Arc and Louis XIV, the country of Napoleon and General de Gaulle, the country of knights and fair ladies, the country of Victor Hugo and Chateaubriand, the country of Pascal and Descartes, the country of La Fontaine's fables, Molière's characters and Racine's verses, the country of Notre Dame and village churches, the country of Gavroche and Cosette, the country of barricades and Versailles, the country of Pasteur and Lavoisier, the country of Voltaire, Rousseau, Clemenceau, the poilu of the First World War, Charles de Gaulle, Jean Moulin, the country of Gambin, Delon, Brigitte Bardot, Belmondo, Johnny Hallyday, Aznavour, Brassens, Barbara, Sautet's and Verneuil's movies. This country, both light-hearted and brilliant, this country of arts and sciences, this incredibly intelligent and ambitious country, the country of concord and nuclear energy, the country that invented cinema and cars, this country you've been desperately searching for, the subject of your children's nostalgia, even though they never knew it, this country you cherish and that is disappearing. You haven't moved out, yet you feel like you're not home. You haven't left the country, yet it is as if the country left you. You feel like a stranger in your own country. You are inner exiles. For a long time, you thought you were the only ones who could see, hear, think, fear. You were scared to say it. You were ashamed of how you felt. For a long time, you wouldn't dare say what you could see, and above all you wouldn't dare see what you could see. Then, you told your wife, your husband, your children, your father, your mother, your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors. Then, you told strangers, and you understood that this feeling of dispossession was shared by all. France was no longer France, and everyone had noticed it. Of course, they looked down on you. The powerful, the elite, the self-righteous, journalists, politicians, academics, sociologists, trade unionists, religious authorities, they told you it was all fake, that you were wrong, that it was wrong. But you eventually figured out that they were fake, that they were wrong, that they were doing wrong. The disappearance of our civilization isn't the only problem that is haunting us, even if it is the most important one. Immigration is not the cause of all our problems, even if it makes them all worse. The third worldization of our country and people makes it poorer as much as it tears it apart. It ruins it as much as it torments it. That is why you have trouble making ends meet. That is why we must reindustrialize France. That is why we need to have more balanced trade, reduce our growing debt and unemployment, make businesses that have left return to France. That is why we need to protect our technological treasures and stop giving them away to foreign countries. That is why we must help small businesses thrive and be passed on from generation to generation. That is why we need to preserve our architecture, our culture and our nature. That is why we need to restore our Republican school system, its excellence and its cult of merit, and stop exposing our children to the egalitarian experiments of child-centered educationalists, crazy gender theorists and Islamo leftists. That is why we need to reclaim our sovereignty, which was given away to European technocrats and judges, who have stripped us of our ability to choose our fate, in the name of a European Union that will never be a nation. Yes, we must give the power back to the people, take it back from minorities that keep imposing tyranny on the majority, and from judges who substitute their legal power for the government of the people, by the people, for the people. For decades, the left and the right have led us to this deadly path of decline and decadence. Left and right, they have lied to you. They have hidden the gravity of our decline. They have hidden the reality of our replacement. You have known me for years. You know my opinions, my analyses, my predictions. For a long time, I settled for the roles of journalist and writer, the role of Cassandra, the role of whistleblower. I thought a politician would eventually take up the torch. I thought everyone should stick to his own job, his own role, his own fight. I went back on this delusion. Just like you, I can no longer trust. Just like you, I have decided to seize our destiny. I understood that no politician would be brave enough to save the country from its tragic fate. I understood that all these supposedly competent politicians were actually powerless, that Macron, who claimed to be a new man, was actually a worse combination of his two predecessors, that the political landscape would settle for reforms, even though time is running out. It is no longer time to reform France. It is time to save it. This is why I have decided to stand in the presidential election. I have decided to ask for your votes to become your president of the republic. So that our children and grandchildren won't have to face barbarism, so that our daughters won't have to wear the Muslim headscarf, so that our sons won't have to submit. So that we can pass on France as we knew it and as our ancestors passed it on to us. So that we can still preserve our way of life, our tradition, our language, our conversations, our arguments about history or fashion, our taste in literature and gastronomy. So that French people remain French, proud of their history and confident in their future. So that French people feel at home again, so that the latest immigrants assimilate and make the history of France their own. So that we create new French people in France, instead of foreigners in an unknown land. We French people are a great nation, a great people. Our glorious past speaks in favor of our future. Our soldiers conquered Europe and the world. Our great writers and artists have aroused universal admiration. Our scientific discoveries and industrial creations mark their times. Our pleasant way of life arouses envy and joy in those who try it. We have had glorious victories and we have overcome bitter defeats. For 1,000 years, we have been one of these powerful nations that have made history. We will be worthy of our ancestors. We will not be dominated, subdued, conquered, colonized. We will not be replaced. We will have to face a cold, determined monster that will try to drag us through the mud. They will say you are racist, that you're driven by a dismal passion, while it is a passion of utmost beauty, the passion for France. They will say horrible things about me. But I will endure. Insults and vicious attacks will not intimidate me. I will never bow down, because we have a mission to fulfill. The people of France were intimidated, paralyzed, indoctrinated, riddled with guilt. But they're picking themselves up, letting their masks slip, dispersing the noxious lies and chasing away their bad shepherds. We will make France continue. We will carry on this beautiful and noble French adventure. We will pass on the torch to future generations. Help me. Join me. Rise up. We, the people of France, have always overcome. Long live the Republic, and most importantly, long live France.